Have you ever found yourself in a strange state where everything on the outside seems fine, yet inside, something slowly begins to fade? You are not failing. You are not giving up. But the energy that once carried you forward is no longer there in the same way. And this is where doubt appears. You begin to ask yourself, am I becoming weaker? Am I losing motivation? Am I no longer capable of going further? But if this is not the end, then what is it? From the perspective of Carl Jung, this is not a collapse. It is a transition, a deep one. Because when a part of you has reached its limit, energy does not disappear. It withdraws, not as punishment, but as completion. What you are experiencing is not loss. It is the quiet closing of something that has already fulfilled its role, and this is why this phase feels so difficult to name. It is vague. It is empty. It has no clear form, because you are standing in the space between what was and what is not yet visible. But this space is not meaningless. It is where something new begins to take shape. Even if you cannot see it, even if you cannot feel it clearly. And this is why this moment matters. Because the point where you most want to stop is very often the exact point where you are not meant to turn back. Because what you are about to leave is not just a path. It is a version of yourself that is still forming. And if you walk away now, you do not just leave the path. You interrupt what is trying to emerge through you, and that is why this moment feels so heavy. Because you are closer than you think. Number 1. The fatigue you feel is not random. There are phases in life where everything continues as usual. You work, you fulfill your responsibilities, you do not give up. And yet, something inside you is no longer moving. The drive is gone, not dramatically, not suddenly, but quietly. And this is what makes it confusing, because nothing is visibly wrong. And yet, something is no longer right. This does not feel like the fatigue you know. When you are overworked, your body speaks clearly. When you lack sleep, you understand what is missing. But here, you have rested. You have adjusted. You have tried to become more disciplined, and still, the feeling remains, unchanged. And slowly, you turn against yourself. You begin to wonder, am I losing focus? Am I becoming weaker? Am I no longer who I was? But the problem is not you. Imagine this. You are in a closed room where the air no longer circulates. At first, you notice nothing. Everything seems normal. You continue working. You continue living. But over time, something shifts. Your head becomes heavy. Your energy drops. Your focus fades. You try to fix it. You stand up. You move. You drink water. But nothing changes. Because the problem is not in what you are doing. It is in the environment you are inside. And this is exactly how this kind of fatigue works. With one difference, that room is not outside you. It is within you. For a long time, you have been operating in a state of control, high focus, strong discipline, constant responsibility. It is effective. It allows you to move forward, to stay stable, to be reliable in the eyes of others. But here is the part most people do not realize. No state, no matter how effective, is meant to last forever. When your nervous system has been held in tension for too long, it does not collapse, not loudly. It adjusts quietly. You still have the ability, but now it takes more effort to access it. You can still function. You can still move forward. But something has changed. It no longer feels smooth. Small tasks begin to feel heavier. Simple decisions require more energy. And this is where confusion deepens, because it looks like you are becoming weaker, but you are not. What has changed is your internal system. It has shifted into a different mode. Not failure, but protection, a conservation mode, a way of preserving energy when something deeper is no longer aligned. And this is why resting in the usual way does not solve the problem, because this is not surface-level exhaustion. This is not about sleep or overwork. This is about how energy is being distributed from within. It is like a system that automatically reduces its output, Not because it cannot produce more, but because it must prevent overload. You can pause, you can step away. But when you return, if nothing inside has changed, the system will still operate at a lower capacity. And you begin to notice it in the smallest things. What once felt natural now requires preparation. A simple task demands intention. Even a small decision feels heavier than before, and because you can still function, you dismiss it. You tell yourself, it is nothing, but it is not nothing. It is subtle, but it is real. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And this discomfort, this quiet, persistent fatigue, may not be a sign that you are losing strength, but that something deeper is trying to reach your awareness. Not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently enough that you can no longer ignore it. And this is where the real shift begins, because the most important question in this phase is not what you should do next, but what you need to reconsider. Maybe the problem is not that you have not tried hard enough. Maybe the problem is that the way you are living is no longer enough to sustain who you are becoming. And when you begin to see it this way, this fatigue stops being an obstacle and becomes a signal, a doorway, opening into a deeper question about the path you are on. Number 2, when old roles no longer fit. Once you begin to understand that this fatigue is not random, another truth slowly reveals itself. And it is not an easy one. The issue is not your effort. It is not your discipline. It is not your ability. The issue is that the structure you have been living within no longer produces growth. It still works. It still makes sense. It is still accepted by the world around you, but it no longer nourishes you, not in the way it once did. And it is exactly this subtle misalignment that creates a form of exhaustion you cannot explain. Not logically, not rationally, because on the surface, everything still works, but inside, something no longer connects. And if you look back honestly, you may begin to see it. You built your life on a system, clear, structured, defined. You knew what to do to move forward. You knew the standards you had to meet, to feel valuable. You knew what to maintain, to avoid falling behind. And that system once worked. It helped you grow. It helped you stabilize. It helped you become someone reliable in the eyes of others. But here is the part most people miss. Every system has a limit. And once it reaches that limit, it does not break. It simply stops expanding, not because it is wrong, but because it has already fulfilled its role. And now, it is no longer enough. What makes this phase so difficult to recognize is that nothing collapses. There is no crisis. You do not lose everything. You do not fail. You are not forced to change. Everything continues. And because everything continues, you turn inward. You assume the problem must be you. You begin to question your motivation, your discipline, your strength. But if you look closely, you will notice something different. You are still doing the same things, but you are no longer moving forward. You are maintaining. And there is a difference, a deep one, between operating a life and being nourished by it. When a structure is aligned, it does more than sustain you. It generates energy. Even in difficulty, you feel expansion. You feel movement. But when that structure reaches its limit, it stops giving. It only holds. It keeps you stable, but it does not take you further. And over time, this stability becomes stagnation. Not obvious, not dramatic, but real. Carl Jung once wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another." And even more, a shoe that once fit perfectly can become tight. Not because it changed, but because you did. Carl Jung once wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another." And even more, a shoe that once fit perfectly can become tight. Not because it changed, but because you did. But here is the difficulty. Most people do not recognize that they have changed, so they continue, forcing themselves into old standards, old goals, old definitions of success, old definitions of self-worth. And when those structures no longer fit, They do not question the structure. They question themselves. They assume something is wrong with them. But at a deeper level, what is being challenged is not just how you live, it is how you see yourself, because your path was never just a path. It became your identity, a story you have repeated for years. I am this kind of person. I follow this direction. I believe in these things. And when that path no longer gives life, that story begins to loosen. And when the story loosens, something appears. Not clarity, not certainty, but unease, a quiet instability, not because you are lost, but because you begin to see that who you thought you were is no longer fixed. And this is why so many people stay longer than they should. Not because they do not see it, but because they are not ready for what comes next. The deeper question: if I no longer live this way, then who am I? This question does not come with an easy answer. And because there is no answer, at least not immediately, you stay in what is known. Even when, inside, you are already depleted. You can imagine it like this. You are walking on a road you have known for a very long time. Every turn, familiar, every sign, recognizable. Everything tells you you are on the right path. But then, something shifts. You continue walking, but you no longer feel that you are moving forward. The scenery stays the same. Nothing new appears. And somewhere deep inside, this road will not take you anywhere new. It only leads back to itself. From the perspective of developmental psychology, this is not a failure. It is a transition point, a critical one. Not a moment where you must act, but a moment where you must recognize a cycle has ended. Every stage in life requires a structure to support you, to guide you, to help you grow. But no structure is permanent. And when a structure has fulfilled its role, holding on to it does not create safety. It creates contraction. Carl Jung did not see these moments as crises. He saw them as transformation. But not the kind people expect. Because transformation does not begin with clarity. It begins with the loss of it. It does not begin with a new direction, but with the realization that the old one no longer carries you. And this is why the first feeling you meet is not excitement. It is disorientation, subtle, quiet, lingering. And here is what matters. Not that you find a new path immediately, because rushing toward a new direction is often just another escape, a way to replace one structure with another, without understanding what you truly need. What is required here is something simpler, but much harder. Honesty. The willingness to see that there are things in your life you continue to maintain, not because they nourish you, but because they are familiar, because they feel safe, because they have become part of who you believe you are. And when you begin to see this, it does not bring comfort. Not at first. It may even deepen the emptiness, because the moment you stop relying on what is familiar, you lose your anchor, temporarily. But this emptiness is not a mistake. It is necessary, because only when you stop filling your life with what has already expired can space appear. And only in that space can something new begin to emerge. And this is where most people turn back. They rush. They fill the space too quickly. A new goal, a new plan, a new system, anything, to avoid feeling lost. But if the recognition has not gone deep enough, they carry the same pattern into a new form. And after some time, everything repeats. So the meaning of this phase is not immediate change. It is something else, something quieter. The willingness to face a simple truth. There are things in your life that have completed their role, not because they are wrong, but because you have outgrown them. And when you are honest enough to see this, something shifts, quietly. You begin to step out of living by inertia and move closer to living with awareness. This is not loud. It does not come with dramatic decisions. No sudden change, no visible turning point. It begins with something small, a shift in how you see yourself. you stop forcing yourself to feel engaged with what no longer nourishes you. You stop blaming yourself for not fitting into old standards. And most importantly, you allow yourself to stay with a question that has no answer yet. Instead of rushing toward a new direction just to feel safe, you remain present, uncertain, but aware. And from that space, something begins to emerge. Not clearly, not immediately, but enough for you to recognize one thing: the fact that the old path no longer carries you forward is not a sign that you are lost. It is a sign that you have reached the limit of one chapter, and another is already beginning to take shape, even if you cannot see it yet. Number 3, why the closer you get, the more you want to stop. If stagnation is a threshold, then right at that threshold, something very specific appears. A reaction. You want to stop. Not because you are exhausted, not because you are incapable, but because something inside you begins to resist, subtly. The closer you get to real change, the stronger this hesitation becomes. You begin to delay. Things you once knew you would do suddenly feel less urgent. You tell yourself, I need more time. I should rest a little. I should be more certain first. And it sounds reasonable, logical, measured. But here is the paradox. This feeling often appears exactly when you are closest to a real turning point. On the outside, nothing is wrong, no crisis, no pressure, everything still functions. And because of that, the desire to stop feels justified. You believe you are being careful, thoughtful, responsible. But if you look closely, something else becomes visible. This urge to stop does not come from not understanding enough. It comes from understanding too much, because now you begin to see the real cost, not effort, not time, but identity. You realize that if you continue, you will not be able to remain the same. Something familiar will have to change. A version of you will have to be left behind. And this is where resistance is born. Not because the path is wrong, but because it asks you to live differently. In the process described by Carl Jung, this is a precise moment, a delicate one. The old structure has already completed its role. Energy no longer flows through it, but the new is not yet fully formed. It cannot support you as yet. And so, you stand between two states, no longer belonging to the old, not yet grounded in the new. This space is quiet, but it carries tension, a subtle unease that makes you want to hold everything as it is just a little longer. And in this space, the desire to stop is natural. It is human. Carl Jung once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." This is not judgment, it is precision. As you move closer to an inner truth, a truth that asks you to live more honestly, something begins to happen. Quietly. The mind does not resist directly. It delays, not through obvious refusal, but through logic, reason. You do not say no, you say, not now. I need more time. I should think this through. And it sounds right, measured, rational. But it is precisely this rationality that hides the avoidance. And this is important because the desire to stop is not weakness. It is human, deeply human. Because as you approach a real turning point, what once gave you safety begins to feel fragile. You begin to see clearly what you will have to leave behind: roles, patterns, relationships built on who you were, images of yourself that once kept you stable. And this clarity creates hesitation. Not because the new is wrong, but because the old once protected you. Imagine this. You are standing in front of a door, one you have been searching for a long time. You know, something different exists behind it. A new space, a new way of living. But as you get closer, you realize something. Opening the door is not the hard part. Leaving the room behind is, because you cannot take everything with you. And in that moment, You hesitate. Not because you do not want to go forward, but because you understand. You will not be the same person anymore. And this feeling appears only when you are close, closer than you think. You see it in different forms. Someone stays in a stable job, even when they know they no longer belong. Someone remains in a relationship, even when it is already clear. Someone keeps preparing, but never begins. The situation changes, but the inner state is the same. They are not incapable. They are not lost. They are standing at a boundary, and at that boundary, the most common mistake appears. You try to force yourself to be stronger, or you return to the old to feel safe again. But both miss the truth. The desire to stop is part of the process, not something to eliminate, but something to understand. Because when you see that this hesitation is not a sign you are on the wrong path, but a sign you are very close on the right one, something changes. You stop reacting automatically. You do not rush forward, but you also do not step back. You stay. With the hesitation, you observe it. You let it reveal where you truly are. And this creates something rare, something powerful, a space between what you feel and what you do. And that space is where freedom begins. Not the freedom to do anything, but the freedom not to be controlled by fear. You still feel it, the hesitation, the urge to stop, but now you see it differently. It is not a command, it is a signal. And because of that, something subtle changes. You no longer try to defeat hesitation. You only refuse to let it decide. You do not rush back. You do not force forward. You stand exactly where you are. And that position is the only place where real change happens. Because transformation does not come from pushing harder. It comes from being aware enough not to betray what you already see. You do not need certainty. You do not need to eliminate fear. You only need to hold on to one thing. Simple, difficult. Do not return just because it is familiar, and do not stop just because it feels temporarily easier. Because in the end, what matters is simple. The feeling of wanting to stop is not a sign that you should. It appears when you are close enough to a truth that if you continue, you will not be able to live the same way again. And that is why the question changes. It is no longer, should I stop? It becomes, what am I trying to protect by wanting to stop? And if you are honest enough to answer that, you will see clearly. What is being threatened is not the path ahead. It is the version of you that cannot continue there. And only when you accept that, you can move forward, not through force, not through pressure, but through a decision, a conscious one, a decision not driven by fear, but by truth. Before you go further, pause. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to solve. Just be still. Let your breath slow down and feel where you are, because sometimes transformation does not begin with action. It begins with something being seen, fully, honestly, allowed to exist long enough to change on its own. Number 4, do not give up. This is the moment, the most important one, because at a certain point, your journey is no longer measured by how far you have come, but by what you can no longer return to. Nothing collapses, nothing breaks. It is simply this: what once kept you there no longer can. You are not lost, but you no longer belong where you used to be. And something shifts. Quietly, you begin to see more clearly than before. And it is exactly this clarity that makes you pause, that makes you feel like giving up. And this is where most people misunderstand. They think they are becoming weaker, that they are losing motivation, that something is wrong. But look closely. The urge to stop does not appear when you are confused. It appears when you are already clear enough. You are not lacking answers. You are not lacking ability. You are standing at a threshold. And once you cross it, you will not be the same. And the mind trying to protect, begins to speak. Not loudly, not dramatically, but gently, reasonably. Maybe you should stop here. Maybe this is enough. Maybe now is not the time. And it sounds right, so right, that you do not see it for what it is. Avoidance. Carl Jung saw this with precision. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And when you come close to who you truly are, avoidance changes form. It no longer says, "I am afraid." It says, "Not yet." You do not abandon the path, you pause. But that pause, if repeated enough, becomes something else. A quiet turning back, so subtle. You may not even notice it happening. Before he became known, Ed Sheeran was invisible. Years, on the streets, moving constantly, sleeping on friends' couches, playing for people who did not stop, facing rejection again and again. But the hardest part was not the conditions. It was something else. He did not fit, not the image, not the mold, not what the world expected a star to look like. And at some point, he stood before a very reasonable choice: change, to be accepted, adapt, to be understood. And if he had done that, the path would have been easier, faster, smoother, but there would have been a cost. Himself, the most authentic part of what he was creating, would have been left behind. And the real turning point was not success. It was the moment. He refused to turn away from himself, even when turning away made perfect sense. And this is closer to your situation than it seems. Because in the beginning, stopping does not mean much. You have not seen clearly yet, so changing direction is natural. But once you see, truly see, something changes. Stopping is no longer neutral. It becomes a step back into what is familiar, and at the same time, a step away from what is most real in you, from what is just beginning to form. And this is why, at this stage, giving up is no longer about ability. It becomes a question of honesty. Do you dare to live with what you have seen? Or will you turn away to feel safe again? There is an image, ancient, precise. In the Bible, after leaving Egypt, the Israelites stand close to the promised land, and again, they want to return. Not because the new land is bad, but because the desert is known, harsh, difficult, but familiar. They understand it. They know how to survive in it. The promised land is different, unknown, unpredictable. And from a psychological view, this is not just a story. It is a pattern. People choose what they know, even if it limits them, rather than step into what they do not yet understand. And this may be exactly where you are, no longer belonging to the old, not yet grounded in the new, no longer driven by what once moved you, and not yet clear on what comes next. This space is quiet, but it carries a strange feeling, an emptiness, a subtle sense that something is wrong, but nothing is wrong. This is the moment when the old structure has completed its role, and the new is not yet strong enough to hold you, and so you feel the pull to go back. Not because you need to, but because you are not yet used to standing without what once held you. And this is why giving up now is no longer about success or failure. It becomes something deeper, loyalty, inner loyalty, because the path you are on may feel heavy. It may exhaust you. It may no longer feel the way it once did, but it is a path you stepped onto in a moment of truth. And if you turn back only to feel comfortable again, you are not just leaving a goal. You are leaving the version of yourself that had the courage to see. You are leaving the feeling that you have lived in alignment with what you know to be true. And maybe what matters most right now is not speed, not strength, but this, that you do not turn away from yourself at this exact moment, because this moment, quiet as it is, decides something. Whether you continue to live by inertia or begin to step into something else, a way of being where you no longer have to compromise with what you already know within yourself. Number 5, learning to stay with inner emptiness. The natural reaction is escape, to move away as quickly as possible. You fill the space with work, with goals, with movement, or you return to what is familiar. Anything, so you do not have to feel it, because this feeling is not comfortable. It has no clear shape, no clear reason, and yet it is deep enough to disturb you. You are not in pain, but you are not fully alive either. And it is exactly this ambiguity that creates urgency, the need to do something immediately, just to get away from it. But here is the problem. You were never taught how to stay with it. From early on, you learned you need answers, direction, progress. A day without productivity feels wrong. A phase without clarity feels like falling behind. So when emptiness appears, you treat it as an error, something to fix, instead of something to experience. And maybe what is needed here is not to solve it, but to stay, not to endure it, not to fight it, but simply not to rush away. And when you feel the impulse to distract yourself, pause. Nothing drastic, nothing extreme, just enough to see clearly. What am I trying to escape from? At first, this may feel worse, because without distraction, what is inside you becomes visible. But if you do not label it, if you do not try to define it, something changes. You begin to see it is not fixed. It moves, at times clear, at times unclear, at times heavy, at times light, and slowly you create distance, not from avoiding it, but from not being completely pulled into it. And in that space, something else opens, a different kind of listening, not through thinking, but through sensitivity. You begin to notice small things, things you still do, but no longer feel connected to. And at the same time, subtle signals appear, not clear, not fully formed, but something draws your attention, quietly, a sense that something is there. And if you rush back to your old rhythm, you will miss it. That is why this phase requires patience, not forcing yourself back to normal. You still move, you still do what is necessary, but you stop trying to recreate what is no longer there. You allow yourself to be slower, less certain, without immediately assuming something is wrong. Carl Jung suggested that within every state of chaos, there is an order. This is not easy to see, especially when you are inside it. But if you stop filling the space, something begins to reveal itself. Slowly, quietly. This emptiness is not meaningless. It is a pause, a necessary one, where what is old has stepped back and what is new has not yet fully appeared. And because of that, nothing feels clear. There is no moment of sudden understanding, no instant clarity. It unfolds differently, more slowly, but if you stay, something changes. Not outside, inside. You no longer feel the same urgency. Not because you now have all the answers, but because you are no longer afraid of not having them. And that is the turning point. Not when you find a direction, but when you no longer need to escape yourself. When you can remain even without clarity. That is when something shifts. You step out of your old way of operating, and from that stillness, something begins to form. Not because you force it, but because this time, you are quiet enough to notice it. And if there is one thing to take from all of this, it is this. The moment you feel like giving up is rarely the moment you are on the wrong path. It is the moment you are closest to what is most true for you. In the spirit of Carl Jung, exhaustion, stagnation, hesitation are not failure. They are signals. Your inner life asking for something more, not effort, not control, but honesty. You are not being tested because you are weak. You are standing at the edge of real change, and do not give up does not mean push harder. It means do not turn away from yourself at the most important moment. Because if you turn back only to feel safe, you may find relief for a while, but something will remain. The feeling that you did not fully live what called you. But if you stay, even without clarity, even without certainty, and if you are honest enough not to betray what you already see, then something is already happening. You are moving in the right direction. You do not need to see the entire path. You only need to understand this hesitation is not random. It appears when something in you is ending, so that something else can begin. And in that space, what matters most is not speed, but alignment with what you know is true. Thank you for staying until the end. If something in this resonated with you, stay with it. And if you want to continue exploring these deeper inner processes through the lens of Carl Jung, you can continue with the next video. I will see you there.